Welcome, everyone. My name is Michelle Aubin, and I really love interviewing fascinating and interesting people and bringing them to a wider audience. And today I have a really wonderful person, Meilin Ehlke, and I'll tell everyone, she's the first person I interviewed when I started my podcast. So it's a very special connection we have today. And now we're moving into video. And Meilin is really wonderful. She describes herself as a gate opener. And I'm going to hand it off to you, Meilin, and let you describe yourself to people in your own words. But that's a very powerful thing. That's a very powerful, phrase. And so I would love to hear you describe to people what that is and what that means to you.
Yeah, I've recently came to it because in June I mentioned to myself, I decided not to dilute myself. My journey was figuring out what I am and why I'm here on this earth. And so, it was as an artist or landscape architect and then as a healer. But even as a healer, what is precisely what I do? And I know I connect people to their source. And but I do more than that. And so I said, yeah, I'm a gate opener because I'm it for people. I open the connection lines, yeah, so they can reconnect. But I do the same thing with landscapes and other places, and I think other beings. I'm able to reconnect them to source, to really feel the resonance, that we're all one, and to the resonance within themselves, and then that they can reflect this out into the world, and also that it reflects within them, so they stand fully in their life and support or do whatever they want to do.
That's really amazing. What does that look like or feel like for you when you do that work and you open the gate? What does that mean?
Mostly energy, the frequencies, opening density, removing density and opening up into expansion so it can open. And mostly through frequencies of sound or energies, light. It feels, most of the time I don't feel it unless I do speak or sing. It even happens just being there. But mostly now at the moment, it is through sound, sacred sounds that are sung, that I channel through my body of different beings or sources or I should say, civilizations that have lived prior on Earth.
Let's go into that. So you talked about beings, civilizations that have lived prior. You bring those forth, those energies?
Yeah. I'm open. I stay always open. So I couldn't, I figured out for myself that I'm able to just be so present in the moment that I'm open to whatever comes, whatever is needed the most. And sometimes we don't, we're more in our mind, and it is important to really sink in within the body and feel what wants to come out. And so for me, then I'm so open that different beings can come through, or wisdom, or languages. It's more of my body becomes then a direct translator in a way, where I translate sometimes into English or German, whatever comes, and sometimes I just let it come in the language or no language or sound that it wants to come through.
Do you it's interesting you describe yourself as a gatekeeper, but you're not using the terms channeler or healer. So do those terms not fit or feel appropriate? Those are terms that a lot of people use to describe those types of openings, but that doesn't seem to be a word you describe yourself with.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, the healing comes through the beings or the sounds, and they're really not mine. I am, in a way, the vessel. Sometimes, yes, I put also my 2 cents in, yeah, because I believe our body is needed to combine the energies and to bring them forth. There's something creative happens within us. We put the creative spin on it. So when the healing energy comes, I can set the intention for it to happen. So that's why I can call myself a healer. But it's not so much that I know physically things, headaches, people that disappear, or aches in bodies disappear, or they can feel expanded or more relaxed. That does happen, but it is more through the energies that come through me than myself. And so I did use the word healer for a while, and I am a healer, but it's in a different sense. It's more that the healing happens through the information that is needed to a person in the moment. And so it could be information for the body itself, yeah, because there is an ache or pain, or really there is a lack of information. So this information goes in and then it expands, the body expands or relaxes or reclaims knowledge that it has forgotten in a way or had pushed aside. Yeah, it's going really.
I've never heard. That's wonderful. I've never heard healing described that way, as a reclaiming of knowledge or information. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Which comes to the idea that maybe it's about remembering more of who we are, or when we don't remember, that's when we suffer, or something along those lines. But that's a really interesting concept of adding information.
Yeah, it is. You're very right. We do remember. We're born in a natural state on this earth, and maybe sometimes already in the womb, we take on a different rhythm of maybe our mother, or we start out in our rhythm, and then the surrounding, or I should say our society, molds us in a way that we start forgetting or start changing because we think we're not doing the right thing. There's no teaching of living or staying in the natural state where we can sense or communicate to anything around us, and we can move quicker, or there's so many things to connect with. And so we forget that, and we forget that our life is really the purpose, and that we're living our gifts. And I can talk for that in that direction for hours. Is when we lose self-esteem because we don't understand what we are experiencing. So yes, you're right. So this information or these experiences that I provide for people is a tool for them to remember who they are, and then or what they are.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but say more about what you just said about we come here and we don't always understand what is happening. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that we are naturally connected to the things you're describing, but sometimes we don't know how to interpret that, or that we don't understand? I mean, say more about that phrase. Okay. We don't always understand.
It's very, so for example, let's say a gift, I'm going to use as a channeler, yeah, or a medium. People see things, or children see things, and they cannot speak it out. There are no people around them that understand that what they're viewing. So in my generation, I can speak more with the people that I grew up. It's luckily a little different for the newer generation. They can stay in that state longer if they're lucky. It is that, they couldn't speak about it. Then it was told to them that they are lying, or they're in a fantasy land, because the adults around them couldn't understand them. So if you're in a different setting, if you're lucky, you come out of a tribal setting, or you have in your family healers or people that keep the memory alive, they will be able to hear what you tell them as a child, and they'll support it. They won't suppress it because they're not scared. Yeah, I would say, even if I think about my parents, they had these things too, but they never understood it, and they were more scared, you know, and that generation was put in the loony bin
Yep.
very quickly.
That's right.
Yeah, aside. And so people were afraid of that. It's really our generation, Michelle, where we can stay open and explore it more and more, and the younger ones even better, where we can speak in a normal conversation at a party about us, or if you sit and drink coffee with people from kindergarten, you know, it's salonfähig, we say in German, but you can speak about that and explore it together. And this way, people, by exchanging and conversing on it, other people start remembering as well. So yeah, it's nice, because then if I would be if I am someone who, I'm a channeler and a physical channel, I had to wait almost 40 years to figure out what my body is doing. So someone else is, for example, maybe sees images the whole time. So they would be taught what they're seeing. So some people see symbols, or maybe someone can communicate with animals really well. And, you know, there's so many facets, and few of us even have several. And that there is someone around you who sees it and encourages and teaches even more, so you can become better in your craft. And somehow we all the opposite.
This is one of the reasons I love doing these types of interviews with folks like you, because not everyone has people around them physically that do what you just described, are able to give them permission to explore that. But we live in an era with YouTube and with the internet and all of the access now. I've gotten a lot of information from the internet that has helped in that direction. And so I just want to be part of making that more of a normal conversation online, because not everyone has people that understand them.
Yeah, and in their life. Yes, it's a beautiful way. You know, I've done also interviews and on my radio show. And what I've learned is by sharing more of my life, instead of, you know, telling others to do, but what I've experienced. And this gives people inspiration. Or also they start recognizing something. So if I tell a story that happened, and they say, oh my God, if she can do it, I can do it. Or, oh, that's what happened. Now I understand a little bit. And then they feel more comfortable to explore it. And the same thing happened to me. I remember the first time I heard Tom Canyon sing something. I said, okay, he sings it, then that's what I heard. So I can sing loud. You know, after 3 years ago, suddenly the singing started. And first I was only singing to the showers or the plants outside, you know, and very good friends. And then I said, no, I can go into the world. People love those sounds. So that was very encouraging. And so I encourage everyone who has a gift that is not really well understood to go out, because there are many that have it, but it has not been spoken or shown or experienced with enough others. Yeah, and you're right, the internet is a fascinating tool for that.
Yeah. So you talked to, I just want to share with everyone, Tom Kenyon, Google his name. He's a wonderful sharer of sounds. I don't know how to describe it otherwise. He shares very unique sounds that are very healing, and he does. I'm beyond words, but just Google him. He's fantastic. So I'm glad you mentioned him, because he's someone who is really, when I listen to his music, It's just profound. And but I wanted to go back to what you just talked about. You kind of talked about your process of opening up to this. So you said you were an artist, but in the past 3 years, you started the singing in the shower. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you gave yourself permission to sing in the shower, and then you started to give yourself permission to do this more publicly.
Slowly.
Okay, so what did that look like? Did you have
good friends? Yes, good friends, first of all. So when I moved back to Germany about 7 years ago, I was very lucky, and we put ourselves in that situation. We do set intention, and we set an intention to grow. I just follow whatever comes my route, but I was lucky to be taught by a wonderful man and many other shamans from around the world. And there I figured out that I'm a physical channel. And then
what does that mean? What does that mean for people?
Okay, sorry for people. So I channel information as a medium, for example, but my body also changes. So I feel they can come into my body a little bit. In a way, I give them permission to use my body, and it's not in using. The word using is to co-create with this being, and because I'm not someone who goes out totally, to use the body and to use my voice or create other voices to bring through the messages. It's very easy for me to change form. Let's put it that way. And that's also something I've learned. I help people through the singing is to change form, that we remember how easy it is for us to change form, that we're not this strict structure, and that we can transmute and materialize or dematerialize. Yeah.
So did you study shamanism? Is this how you came to open yourself up, or were you studying? Did you have a mentor?
Yeah, it's all mixed. It started with yoga. With the Koreans, where I learned how the energy flows. I remembered how it flows through my body, because my body started moving when I was in meditation. So when I sit down for meditating, I never sat still. It was very hard for me. It was so different. Everyone was so still, and my body moved, and I noticed how things were realigning in my body. And then later I through my cats, I got into shamanism for animals. We had some experiences there. And then later for human beings, but more finding out what I was. And, then there is no transition. And then later came the star beings. So it was a fascinating tool. But getting back to the singing, how it all started, it was in Munich. I was invited by a friend to come to an esoteric trade show, and there were many concerts, etc. And so I went there and painted a little bit. And I don't know there were several things happening. And, this weekend, it was really set up for me to be so open. I mean, I got certain hugs and people I saw, and it was just fascinating. And so suddenly someone took my left hand and right hand, because they said, Meilin, you're not in your body. We have to get you back. So I went, then suddenly I sang, and I sang for 15 minutes in the middle of this trade show. It was funny. And so there it was. And then even on the trade show, it happened on the last day, I sang to a few people, because they came back after they heard it, said, oh, we walked by, can you sing to our child? Or someone else asked to sing. Oh. They were recognizing.
You said it was a trade show?
Yeah.
A trade show?
Esoteric or spiritual trade show. I don't know how you call it in English. Yeah.
So like an expo. It was an environment where people were interested in healing, and they were open to those type of things.
Right.
And they responded to you doing this very well.
I was surprised. And so, and then I was, I went at home. I had to for me, it takes a while always to get it into my body to understand what's happened. So then I sang in the shower was easy, because when you're under the water, it grounds you, the water that runs above your body, then you really feel free. So that helped me at the beginning. Being in nature helped me. So then I sang to the trees, and no one could hear me because my songs are very loud often. So then I sang to the trees and animals. And then my first friends that were with me, maybe in my channel class, and then it kept on going, because they became different, and its languages came as well, and not just the tones. And that was maybe a 2-year span before I really felt comfortable. And even there, I always knew I wanted to speak as you did on the radio or do interviews. So I started then with inviting all the people that had been with me in classes, like a teleconference once a month. So after a year, I then felt comfortable leading that I was courageous enough to invite people I didn't know. Yeah, that I put it out on the internet, and then I also to do it in English. And then one step after the other, and suddenly, I was interested I looked at information for a radio show, but there I wasn't allowed to be free enough. And a woman contacted me and said, "Oh, you can come onto the radio." Yeah, then I said, yeah, that's a sign. And even there, then I fine-tuned over the last year how I function, that I start just speaking about whatever comes to my mind, and that's what's needed. And then songs and sounds come. It's a way to underline what is spoken about, intensifies it, and then it's the person. It's easier for the person to take it in then. So there's a little logic and no logic, and that is a good combination for people to open up and change their form, because at the end, that's what happens. To come into a relaxed state, to even, when you lose pain, you feel tight, it's all about expansion and letting that in, light into your body.
Well, my experience of you is that even when you speak about something in a logical way, your way of speaking is very, there's a flow to it, and it's very poetic.
Oh, thank you.
That's how I hear it. I could listen to you speak and pretend I didn't know the words, the meaning.
Wow.
And there would be something very musical about the way you speak.
Oh,
that's my experience. Yeah. And so sometimes I think when you speak, your speaking might even be opening you up and opening up the listener in preparation for the song. I don't know. That just came to me. But I think your speaking is very, it's not so different. It's very relaxing to listen to you.
That's what that's what was always my intent in life, and that's the only thing I always know is true. People can be who they are when they're around me, and it relaxes people. Even if I learned also, if I don't say things, it happens. So it's the emanate whatever comes through. But even there, I learned sometimes I sit as a man, sometimes I sit as someone, and I don't see myself. So sometimes I need people around me that can see what I'm changing into to know what I'm in. But that keeps it exciting, that keeps me on the edge and trying to figure out, what went happened.
Right. It's never the same, so it's always interesting, right?
Never the same. I've just recently I had in short term few clients, and each one was so different. Everyone suddenly got really quick where they had to go, but it was nothing we expected.
So you mentioned in your opening up, you mentioned the process over the past 3 years, and then you and we both giggled, you mentioned the star beings. And I just wanted to go back to that and say, what do you have to say about that? Because that might be something that people listening, it might be a new idea to them, or it might be I just think whatever you want to share about that would be interesting.
Yeah. So many
Yeah.
sounds that come, I couldn't recognize. And then when the languages came, I said, okay, are those languages? And those languages are, yes, sometimes they're spoken, old from our ancestors. Some are really other civilizations that have lived here that I connect to. And by the way, we're all mediums. We can all connect to these things. And then I said, okay, they have to come from somewhere else. So it really goes back to the idea, where do we come from? So this is Earth, thinking about resonance. If we're in resonance with ourselves, that means what else are we in resonance with? We're in resonance with this Earth or other human beings, animals, all elements at the end. And what is beyond? Those are questions that went through my mind. So beyond is the universe with thousands of galaxies. So these galaxies also have information for us, and they understand us. And there has been if you talk even to Native Americans or other continents, they always have been connected to star beings, because symbols, they draw certain symbols, and we can see the symbols that are drawn onto walls in caves or whatever. They repeat throughout the world, similar symbols. So where they come from, and these are symbols that have been communicated. Even Indians, they have on their tents. Those are when they connect with star beings, when there is an exchange. And also they have helped remember and keep our information, or give us memories. When I spoke about opening sites, mostly sacred sites are sacred sites because there have been other civilizations or beings have been there. And they support us now experiencing more about what we are, because there's a time where we're becoming very fine-tuned to the energies around us. Yeah, and that happened the same year. 2 months later, I was in Hawaii, and suddenly I was in Kauai, and suddenly all about starlights and I don't know, people that came from somewhere else. But why do we understand them, and why is there a connection? And and more like people translate, or don't direct translators. Even Tom Canyon is a direct translator for them. Even a whale is a star being. If you think, where do they come from? What's their source? At the end, we all come from one moment. We were all created at the same time. So us here as humans, animals, trees, but also all the star beings, anything that's out there in this earth. 14 billion years ago, everything, boom, there was one big explosion from a tiny energy. And it's being moved by the wind, and it's still moving forward. So we're all moving forward. And that's why we understand each other. And that's where we're going now, that we are understanding what we're understanding. Because we sense so much. And there's a way science is catching up slowly, but there is so much more. Our human body, we do different things, and we all do the same. And it's just fascinating. Why do we always sense things? And the more we question, the more we find out. So I encourage everyone to question. Life.
Now, did you have this understanding of the star beings and the connection we have to them before you experience opening up to them in Hawaii and the languages coming through? Or is your understanding a result of this information coming through?
No,
which came first?
I did on an adventure to find out more about myself, and why I forgot how it functions. And so I came back to memories where I met many beings when I was a child.
Oh.
So it was easy for me to make connections again and say, oh, it was this way. But it was a long, long search to really feel comfortable in letting myself see that and remember.
And those were memories that you had maybe repressed or chosen not to remember?
Yeah, maybe sometimes I think maybe it was not the right time yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for me, I mentioned my cat. So, and even at that time, I believe also cats, you know, they do come from somewhere else. They also here to really support us. And there were all these cats with me in the woods. And I was always wondering, later in life, I still remember moments when I could go for a walk and all these cats were walking with us. And if you think about all stories of witches, I think they always depicted with cats. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me think right now. So, well, do some research about or the Egyptians. So there's so many things with cats. That's some of my interest. Let's see where it leads me. Um, when I learned that they're from somewhere else, I said, so where I am from then? If I'm here in this form, where do I come from? And is there maybe a place I've lived for so much longer in a different form than right here? And yes, I think I have. Don't understand it yet so fully, but I'm on the way.
And memories have come to you about that question?
Memories and then even experience and rituals right now where there is really strong communication in this present time. So within in this year, where
Mm-hmm.
you know, and after a while there's too much knowledge, you can't even think, oh, that's just pure luck. And it becomes very easy. And then also I sense that I'm something different because my body changes also. So it's not just my mind. I said, oh, who I just been. Suddenly I feel I'm someone else and I can't really tell what I am. If if I'm more masculine, I can tell it. But these other beings, or if an other person that's living right now, I can feel that it's easier. But when suddenly the body, you know, all our little atoms and neutrons, and you go smaller, the bosons, then I'm so diluted in a way, and then I don't know what I am. And so that I'm trying to, and I don't question, I never ask. And I'm slowly starting to ask.
Oh, you are?
So
So,
I'm not a
okay,
big questioner. I'm more an experienced person.
but it sounds like you have all of these openings, you're taking step after step, layer after layer. And now you're at the layer of who am I? You've been at the layer of why are these cats all around me? Who are these beings that I'm speaking with? But now it's more, who am I? Even though I change my form, or even though I'm opening to these things, who am I?
Yeah.
Where am I from?
Yeah. And
that's like a newer layer for you.
Yep. And it's not easy. Because sometimes I feel one way and then the other way. And it's not always as easy as it sounds. But most of the time, I do enjoy, because I live so in the moment. I'm so many different things, but it's fun. And so I also know that we are all these things. And so as I explore, and that's, you know, when I said I don't want to be diluting my message or myself anymore, I want to speak really clear about what happens with me, because I'm not the only one. We all are this way, you know. And if we have memories of other times, it really is not of another time. It is just we are connecting to information of someone else, because we are all 14 billion years old. It's not a life that where we've died. We just transform into a different shape.
Well, this is why I'm so glad you agreed to be interviewed with me again, because during our first interview, the reason I reached out to you for that, just because I sensed an openness in you that I'm exploring in myself in a different way, and you just seem so trusting that I just was really interested in, you know, bringing what you do and who you are to the world, to a wider audience. And then this interview is so essential to basically what I walk around all day thinking about. But these aren't things that a lot of people want to talk about or know how to, or but you know, this is kind of who I am. These are the questions I have. And I came about it differently than you. I always thought, well, who am I? Where am I from? And only in the past year have I decided to just let that go, and that I don't need to figure it out, because the more I try, the more removed I am from myself. So maybe we're coming from different directions. And every time I try to understand, it just ends up being intellectual.
Yeah.
And I don't always even know what my perception of this reality means, or if this is the only reality or dimension, or I've stopped trying to understand it. If that makes any sense to you. You know, I spend so much time trying to get it figured out, and now I'm just like, I don't know anything. I really don't.
It's the time that rituals are coming back, or celebrations that have not been practiced so much. And talking about the star nations, they help us remember what they were. And through these experiences, and not a thought, not trying with logic to understand it. When you once feel it, and that's why I speak often, we have to feel our wisdom to flourish into a true self. Yeah, because through our feeling, there is suddenly a knowing. This knowing cannot be pushed around. It's solid. I just know, or someone else just knows it is the truth. Yeah. So
and that's what ritual will do.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's really experience. I call it even just experiences, but it's helping us understand our state. So it is really through other frequency. That is what is a ritual. A ritual brings us through drumming or didgeridoo, or singing, or sounds, or feeling vibration. Yeah, these are the things that bring us answers.
Those are things that also can bring us into a different brainwave state. Yeah. And that's what trance is about. And that's why trance I believe why it feels so enjoyable, is because the part of our brain that's hooked on the intellect can relax. Mm-hmm. And then we can let other things through, other ways of knowing through. And
yeah, children are in that state. So children are in a higher state of frequencies.
They are.
So that's why they're so open. So, you know, that's why they can learn as a child 40,000 times faster than us.
Yeah.
And not that they learn, they just experience it. They you know, their eyes are everywhere. They observe. They become aware of their surrounding. It's not different.
There's an interesting. Sorry to cut you off. Say that again.
It's a different way of learning. It's being just aware and present. And if you can be that at this speed, that is something different. And so then we pulled ourselves down, or by restricting, not going to our higher vibrations, we can't sense the other vibrations. So now we have to learn to move our body really relaxing enough to sense all these other higher vibrations, to feel the surrounding again.
And all of these vibrations that you're talking about we naturally go there, but when we keep ourselves tied to a certain schedule, and we keep ourselves focused on sort of the logical way of structuring life that our culture really wants us to, get to work on time, focus on all these external things, that does keep us in a certain brainwave state.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, because I studied hypnosis, and I've done a lot of research on my own around brainwave states and stress. If we are in these states for too long, that's when we have symptoms of stress. And that's the number one problem in our culture. And it's really interesting to think about this in a deeper way, because if that leads, if staying there too long leads to stress, we're not meant to stay there that long. We're meant to flow and go into these other brainwave states. And this is why we now have meditation is recommended to so many people, and all of these, it's becoming mainstream. Thank goodness. But this is what meditation will do, or self-hypnosis, things like this.
You don't even need that much. You can have much more fun, I think, sometimes, because we can be in these states when we wash our dishes. We can be in the states, you know, for me, I believe we can always be in that state. So it is, and how do we get into that state is by following our rhythm, even how the way we breathe, right? To not take on someone else's breathing rhythm. To do things when we want to do things. That's really important. So when do we want to eat? You know, not to eat like when the schedule says one is supposed to eat. And 3 times, maybe you're someone who needs 6 times, and maybe you just need to eat once a day. Everyone is different. We're so different. And I say dance a lot. So if you want to relax, dance, and not, you can follow certain steps, or you listen to your body, how your body wants to move through certain tones or rhythms. And this changes our body, expands our body, and brings us very fast to these states. And then it's easier for a being, because suddenly walking becomes like a dance. Standing becomes like a dance, because we don't stand still. It's no stifling. And then, as you said, the stressing, you know, it denses, it becomes dense. We're squeezing down on something. So what happens when we're stressed? We start squeezing in. Yeah. What do we do when we relax? It's an expansion. And to observe one's body and to say, oh, I'm crunching, what is it? And becoming aware that it's happening already, just the awareness is starting to let us soften up and become gentler and more sensible. And that is already our natural state.
I think that idea of becoming gentler with ourselves and focusing on our own rhythm, those are 2 very powerful tips for people. And your story about doing yoga and noticing that your body wanted you to move and open up. You know, sometimes people have this idea that they have to do it the right way, whatever that means. And that, you know, but your body was telling you how to do it and how to move. And that was releasing blockages for you and densities. And so we can just trust that process, whatever the process we're being brought through, and to trust that.
Very well said. Yes. You're right.
Well, you said it very well. I'm just summarizing what you're saying.
Yeah, we need to summarize that. Sometimes I figured out I speak like a very flowery. I create a lot of images. And
yes.
Then it's nice if someone comes and shortens it and puts it in a summary.
Well, that's where your way of speaking is. It's very flowy and soothing, and you know, I'm just, you know, my role as, you know, the person asking questions is just keeping it, you know, kind of, I guess I feel like my role is also for someone listening who, if this is all new to them, I do this little summary to say, okay, this is what we've got so far. Now we can digest it and then move on to another opening. So, because I'm always aware that people are interested in ideas that might be very new to them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for you and I, these are not new ideas, but for someone popping in and I'm going to put this on YouTube, you know, so, you know, who knows who's going to listen to this. And this might be the first time they hear about eating when they feel like it, or letting their body move, or star beings. So I like to kind of do a little break for everyone. I don't know. I just feel like you never know who's going to listen. And
yeah, that's what makes out a good interviewer. Yeah, is keeping, taking the information and bringing it clearly to anyone, and to everyone. Yeah.
At different stages.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm aware of you listening through time and space, whoever you are, whoever's popping in and listening.
Yeah, and I saw there is someone as James, if he's still here. So if James has any questions, James.
Yeah, James. James had popped out and back in.
Okay.
And there are two people listening in who are not able to comment because they don't have Twitter or Chrome set up, but they're able to listen. All right, James, you didn't hear it, but if you keep listening, you have questions, feel free to put something in the chat. We're talking about flow. We're talking about giving ourselves permission to let ourselves respond to our own intuition and our own needs as they arise, and what interests us, and doing things on our own schedule. And with that, I'm going to sort of open it up again, Meilin, to the conversation we were having before the recording, where we were both just checking in about what we're opening up to in our lives, and you were kind of leading up to this, but you're opening up even more to who you are now. You were talking to me about that, so I think that's very powerful, because you're one of the most open people I know.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and because I lived the other way. You'll believe it or not, when I was little or younger, I didn't speak. I was very quiet. So in the time about 12 years ago, when I started with yoga, was a beautiful thing. I had a round of tea where you would sit around and pass the tea and take a small cup of tea. And we were invited to share our experiences, or what didn't work well or what worked well. And exactly there what happened is, that's why I learned that it's important for other people to hear, because even myself, I said, oh my God, he went through this. Now I understand what's happening to me. So that I became aware of the importance of sharing really wisdom, of sharing our experiences, yeah? And then later also, I remember they said, yeah, come in front and share a little bit more what we went through, memories came up or something, not just what happened through our body. And then he said, oh, you'll get more energy. And that was really what I was interested in. And I think that's also my driving force, energy, anything energy can do, yeah? Up to, what can materialize right in my hand if I desire to change the form of material or non-material. So that always drove me. And so slowly I learned to speak about myself, and to speak more and more. Yeah, and as you said, now I can speak 1 hour on the radio when there is no power. It's in Seattle, Vancouver, sorry. And I just do that. And it works.
Was he saying the more you share about yourself, the more energy you have access to?
Yes.
That's a powerful idea.
Yes, it is.
And I'm going to, I'm going to paraphrase, but I'm not getting the quote right. But I've heard like Tai Chi teachers say that when we get tired, it's not because we've done too much, but it's because there are things we didn't do that we needed to express.
Yes, that's right. So
which is an interesting idea.
I learned that. I did some Tai Chi, was involved too, where you have to stand 20 minutes in one certain stance, so to feel the energy, or even doing 1,000 bows in a row. And you think after a while, oh my God, after 100, you think, okay, I can do maybe 100 more and that's it. I don't know about 1,000. So where you do the same movement for 5 hours. But there comes the moment, and why did we do it, is to get through the density. So they said, or why hold when it hurts, that after a while, we learn to focus and concentrate and to send energy right through the body. So then suddenly it moves through. Then there's a shake. Now I also started to understand why I was shaking then. So you go through the blockages, and suddenly it's very easy. Or maybe if you stand with your hands up, after at the beginning you can only hold your hands like this for 45 minutes. And then suddenly you come to a certain point and then you notice your arms move automatically up to the position they should be.
Wow.
Very interesting thing what happens when the density lets go, when the resistance lets go. And the same, so that was it is in the body, and the same is in our life, in our work. If there's resistance and we feel horrible and we don't feel like we've done, we didn't do what we sensed and know we should have done. We then did things we heard from others to do, or we wanted to comply with others, or we heard it so often that it must be right. And it's the opposite, it's the same thing. If you are creative, and you stop because you go to bed because, oh, it's 9 o'clock, I have to get up in the morning. There it should be, you keep on the creative process until your body tells you, or you don't know, oh, now this is enough. I'm done. This is done for now. Even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and if you have to get up at 6. But what I've learned then, if you stay in it, the universe opens up. You won't be as tired as you think you would be. Yeah, you will suddenly have more energy. So we have then more energy if we take care of our body, eat the foods that are right for our body, not a certain diet, because each person feels different, attracts different things. So if you feel tired after eating, you ate the wrong thing. If you don't feel energized after eating, and then even there, figure out what things make you tired and eat one of them. Are you more energized or tired?
Right.
And you can see these in many, many, many things in life. What energizes? So really the question, what energizes you? Search, I invite everyone to look for what energizes you to do it, and to invite others to do it with you.
I love that idea of inviting others, and this is one of my themes, and this is not a solo journey for me, because one of the things I am kind of naturally drawn to do, and I don't know why, because I'm not seeking fame at all, but it's this interview piece. And I don't know what it will lead to, but there was a period of time where it was this summer, I had procrastinated on learning the technology for setting up a podcast, and I just kept putting it off. And I had done some interviews with people, and I just kept putting off this piece that felt big around figuring everything out. But it also had to do with putting my name on it and putting it out into the world. And I'm saying this to say to everyone who's listening to this, like, I think we all go through this for some reason. I think that sometimes the things we like the most are the hardest for us to accept. And I'm not really sure why. I don't have an answer, but I went through this, and it doesn't make any sense logically that I put it off. And I would do this meditation and talk to my intuition. At that time I had this particular way I would meditate. And in one of my meditations, I heard this loud voice that said, "Why aren't you saying yes to this?" Meaning this, like, getting like, upload it. Yeah. Say yes to uploading it. And I got up and all right, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to put it out there. So I don't know if it's perfectionism. I don't really know what it was, but I had put it off, and there's no reason, really. There's no harm that will come to me from doing this. It's just feeling vulnerable or feeling like I don't control things. So letting go of that but it takes bravery. I think that's the point of me sharing that story is you had courage in opening up. We all have to have a little piece of bravery and courage. And the more we do this, the more we give courage to other people.
Yeah, and to show that it's, you know, it's not overnight. Some people have it, you know, especially people that die and come back. Man, they got it overnight.
Yes.
Some don't. Yeah, some, and I belong to those because it's so different. And if for anything that is so different, to go slow, it's easier, you know. And then on top of it, you know, I also love to paint, and then I do so many other things. But you're so right. When we don't stay creative and follow our own creativity, that's when we tighten up. And
Yeah.
we often, and I went through the same thing as you said, and I still go through it. It is sometimes it's the time. It's not to happen yet. So sometimes we already see forward. So especially you, also Michelle, you're more a prophet. So you already feel the future, you know the future. And it's not the moment yet to do it. So then suddenly, when it becomes really easy to do, you will just do it.
Right.
Yeah. But then we think, oh, why I am not doing it? And then then just do something else for a while. But it's our surrounding and how we're taught that we're not functional this way if we do that.
Well, but I think
anyway.
I think what you're saying, I think you're saying something a little different. I think you're saying that when it feels right, the energy will come and it will feel easy to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true. But I also think there's what I was doing this summer with delaying was based in fear. Mm-hmm. And I was having the impulses to do something, but I held back.
Yeah.
And
when you transmuted enough, when the moment you had transmuted enough, then you did it. So why did you do it then in that moment? So that if you let go of the past and you just concentrate on the moment why you did it, because suddenly it was easy for you to do. And even
because I heard my intuition. I audibly heard my intuition voice saying,
"You did
stop putting this off."
Mm-hmm. And then you did it, but it felt right. So before it didn't feel right. Something was there. Because I always say the surrounding is with us. When we even talking about being a healer, when we go and meditate or heal a situation, it's not when I heal something in me, many others are healed in the same moment.
Yes.
Mystery, certain things are looked at differently. And there's So, and it's, you know, you have these red things, you know, when we learned in school, or the genetics. And if you have all these rats, so if you do something and it has to trickle down, and once it has trickled down, it has to trickle up. Sometimes it also just needs time to be implemented then.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, but it takes, because it's the thing that we hit ourselves over the head to distinguish. And I've been learning that too, because it was hard for me trying to figure out when is it this or when is it that. But at the end, it is the moment it was easy to do. So some things, like, I don't know, I remember I did a challenge 3 years ago, a video challenge. I just did it. I didn't think, and I was able to do 30 videos in 30 days, yeah? And I didn't know that 3 years later, like this summer, I just came back from California twice now, the last 2 months. I would meet many of these people that I had finished or done these 30 movies with. So it's a bigger picture in a way in there as well. Why did I choose this and not the other? Right. Yeah, or why did I do a periscope? I was able to do 30 days periscoping in September, and then it didn't, because then it's not the time, it's not needed. And I wanted to do Blab already September, but it didn't happen until now. Because then it's the time, then the messages that I want to speak are the right ones for others to hear. And it's a different way of thinking, and it takes a lot of pressure off, and it takes the pressure we put ourselves on or others to really stay with your own sensation and trust the way we move, because we know how to move is the right thing.
This is a very good reminder for me, because you're right. It's like when a little chick is hatching in the egg, it cannot hatch any sooner than the moment it's ready to hatch.
Mm-hmm.
It just won't happen. And it's sometimes when you're in the egg, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes when I've felt like I'm in the egg, I go, oh, I'm still in this egg. Like, when am I going to hatch? But when the time happens, you can't avoid hatching. That's the time to hatch.
You do it automatically because, boom, boom, and then it becomes easy. And otherwise, from the outside, it could be hacked, but then you're not ready.
No, you won't.
Hurt yourself, you may not survive, and all these other things happen. Yeah. And it's a very frustrating thing to fine-tune that and to figure out which is which. And I think that is the biggest understanding and learning, to remember that we know what we are, and because what I say, it's like going to university. It's different than going to universities. University, you go to learn a new trade, to do something, or you learn how to research to solve problems. But now all my journey is to remember of what I'm already doing.
And to get in tune with the feeling. That's kind of what you've been talking about too, is this idea of trust your feeling. When the feeling comes up, follow that feeling. Yeah. And don't try to do it if you don't have the feeling.
Yeah, because it saves time. If you think about if you channel something that has to be written, you can sit on the desk and nothing really comes out, or you have to write 10 times over your one sentence. And if the moment is right, and you maybe sit in the sun because the sun helps you support the information, you can sit down and suddenly you have 2 pages written. And it took you 10 minutes. Yeah, and otherwise you spend all morning doing something else. And you sit there on your desk. Then I say, do something else, have fun. So that is another thing, to have a lot of fun. It's very important to have this fun base, so we can become creative and learn. Remember what we are.
So let's all practice having fun.
Yeah.
Let's make that our job.
Yes.
Because,
it was a funny thing. I did my radio show last week. I was at the beach. The sun was shining, was 80 degrees. And I love warmth. So I said, I'm not going to sit outside. I'm going to take the telephone. I walked to the beach and I said, who cares who listens to me if I sing? And so I went to Santa Monica, sat on the beach, and from there I called in for my radio show. And then I got the experience, and I've noticed how the experience went over. People could feel that I was having fun, that I was enjoying fully what I was doing. I was enjoying the sun. I was enjoying the texture of the sand. I was enjoying the sound of the ocean. And also then I can bring and translate that wisdom directly to people. So next day I did again for the other show. I sat in the park and I just follow where things went. So someone invited me to come to the park. I said, okay. I didn't say, no, I can't come. I have to, I said, okay, I'll come. And then I said, just at 11, I have to sit here and speak. So I sat down and spoke from the trees and sent out the wisdom of the trees. And people feel that. And to do that more and more. And that is what I consider is having fun. Really enjoying every moment. And people love it. And that's the most inspiring.
So is that the new opening for you, is to bring what you do more to kind of public spaces and less structured ways of doing this? Yes. It is? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of incorporating it.
And then you find also ways to do it. And I think most of us, we know already way beyond, but we don't trust it and think, no, what would others think? And that's not possible. But when you said, how is that possible? How can I do that? How does that work? And I see it sometimes too, if I have to do all the travels, and at the beginning I said, what I'm going to do with my son and who's going to take care, blah, blah, blah. And you go through all this, I can't go. And then with time, I said, no. I asked, is it okay if I go? Can you guys handle it? Suddenly there's someone else who helps, you know, and it works. And there are other schedules. You know, that's the important thing. When when it's the right thing for us, you know that it's right, because suddenly everyone around you fits in. It suddenly fits. And then there is no tension, there is no force, and it's easy. That's when I call we're in resonance with everything. So when I travel, then I meet the right people to speak with, and everything becomes more relaxed. You're not worried anymore if a flight is late, or maybe flies out a day early or late, because there's supposed to happen something. You're supposed to speak to someone right now who needs it more than being energetically for the world and beyond, than if the whole plane is a day early somewhere else. You know, these things to broaden our minds, that it's always you have to say for the better good or something for all, but that's really how it is, that we feel how connected we are, and then we're not so alone. And when we don't sense that we are so alone, it becomes easier. That's what I think.
That's what, so that's, you're feeling into that more. I just think that's beautiful. I'm still striving to get more in touch with that, and sometimes I'm in that place, and sometimes, you know, I feel the irritation of something, and you know, but it is a nice way to go about life, feeling that everything is flowing as it should, and the timing will evolve, and practicing that mindset. I have to practice it. I have, you know, just to be honest, I don't always go there. Sometimes I'm just like, well, why isn't this happening? Okay, relax. It's all unfolding.
Yeah. So sometimes it's like this. It becomes easier with time, you know, then you become more aware of it, and more aware, and you fine tune it. It becomes easier. And everyone around learns also to understand you. But if we never start, we give others the permission to get into that state as well. And that's the most beautiful thing. So when I go into a state, I decide to go into that state, I give others the permission to follow and live their state.
I think that's very true. And that's why I'm always so interested to interview you and share who you are with people. Because I know you, when I first heard your radio show, it opened me up, and I felt more permission. And I'm still seeing how far I can go with that.
You get very far with that.
There's a lot I have to do to say, yeah, give myself permission for different things, and always finding where I stop, you know, and I know I'm not the only one. I think, but finding layers and saying, okay, you have permission for this, and now this, and now this, and just keep going and going and going.
Yeah, that's all, because I think if I look back each year, I never thought that things would happen that happened. So if we trust ourselves, and we give, as you said so beautifully, we give ourselves permission, things can unfold that we can't even fathom, that exist or are possible.
What is something for you that you did not, that has happened that you didn't expect as a result of this? We'll kind of leave that as the last sort of inspiring experience, you know, before we wrap up on the interview. But what's something that's happened for you in the past few years that surprised you?
Yeah, one year, you know, the 1 year I started singing, you know, I didn't know I would be in Hawaii. Then beings came to my house, you know, or all that. Or this year I went to Costa Rica, and I thought I couldn't go. And that unfolded. I think I left 5 more times than for the US. And
Oh,
I haven't moved this much in the last 8 years. Okay, maybe because I had a son. But suddenly I was being moved, and I felt how I moved. If it was the ocean calling or it was the desert calling, there had to be opened a gate in the desert. I don't know. I just follow, and then I'm surprised what people I meet. And or as I said, now this was the year to reconnect live or in person with these people from the challenge, and what has brought. And I think, wow, and you can't. 3 years ago, I couldn't think I would see them all like this, and it's just there to even open more doors and
so
more.
that's a lot. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
I think so. Yeah, that surprised me.
Well, on that note, maybe we can begin to think about wrapping up, but maybe you can tell people how they can reach you or talk about your podcast, what the name of that is.
Yeah, so my website is meilinelke.com. That's spelled MEILINEHLKE.com. Or Facebook and Twitter is also an easy way to connect with me, Meilin Ehlke. And yeah, maybe you're interested in a sacred sound session to see what happens.
As a farewell, I'm just writing the name of your website in the
It's my
chat.
name, meilinelke.com, as it's spelled. You can see it up
Yeah,
there in the image.
.com. And just know that when I put this on YouTube, the chat won't show, but I'll have this in the notes.
Okay. Thank you.
And the podcast is on their website. If they go there and they want to find out about
Yeah, I lost that was the thing when I decided not to really speak about who I am. My websites went down too. It's a whole other story that happened at the same time. The more I exposed myself. So I found one that's now a year old. But I think I have a blog up there. I'm creating also a new website. Nasronion wants to join.
just welcome to the chat, and we're getting ready to close out, but I welcome you to did you have a specific question you want to put in the chat? And we've been on for a while, so I welcome you to listen to the replay. Unless you have a specific question you can type in.
Yeah, and you type it in. And I just
type in your question.
A radio show on News for the Soul on Tuesdays at noon Pacific, and I have another one. I post everything on Facebook, so Facebook is a good one. On Tuesdays, 2:00 Eastern time.
Okay, so you posted on Facebook. That's your Facebook page?
Yeah, my Facebook page. It's also Meilin Ehlke.
Okay, I'm going to type that in.
That's why I post things.
Am I getting that right?
Until I'm ready to bring up my new website.
Okay, so there's a couple ways people can find you. They can find you on your Facebook page, and they can find you meilinelke.com, and they'll get information about your radio show on the Facebook page.
Yeah, that's the best.
Okay.
Now, really, if anything, to relax you, that's my specialty, and help you change a form to connect you to your source. So that is what I've learned really good to, and the songs will support that. And then it's easy for you to be in that relaxed state to find your answers that you're looking for, whatever it is, if it's an artistic thing or in writing or just life.
So that's what are you feeling like singing anything, or is this something you want people to reach out to you for?
No, I could sing songs.
Okay.
It's anything that give me a topic and I'll go for it.
How about the topic of opening more, I mean, then you do that anyway, to who we are and
Yeah,
giving ourselves.
to fall into our own rhythm in a way,
Yeah.
so that we can become softer and more open to hear and feel what we are about and what wants to come through us or out of us and to be expressed in this world.
And so anyone, if this is going to be recorded, anyone can re-listen to this
Okay.
anytime.
So let me tune in for a second.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I saw you change shape.
No.
You did change because I've listened to you before just on audio, and but you really do embody something very different. It's really interesting. Thank you for this.
You're welcome. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. Its tone vibrated right through, opening up people. It goes out for far, even though we have it just here in the interview, but it goes far beyond.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you for sharing. I'm going to end the interview here and just welcome everyone to enjoy what you're feeling and reach out to Meilin if you want to carry this further. Till next time.
Okay.